keeping God at an arm's distance, where it's like, I always like that image, so when you need him, you can buddy up,
Yeah.
but when you don't want him, you can push him
Yeah.
away, and like not letting the gospel impact you.
And it's the hypocrisy
Yeah.
that, folks who don't come to church, I think the number one reason is,
Oh,
man, they talk a good talk and then they're jerks.
yeah.
And James is addressing us.
There's
that,
a
saying,
great quote about that. Is like the number one cause of atheism is
Christians.
Christians who declare him by their mouth and deny him by their lifestyle.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's annoying.
And this is what James is getting at.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a finger pointed directly at us. Are we living out our faith, or is it just a lot of show?
Yeah, is it a country club or is it
Yeah.
a lifestyle?
Country club with a little,
Yeah.
Christian ornament,
Mhm.
little
You
songs.
got your little membership card that you slide in a nice parking spot and your own reserved seat.
We don't actually have any.
Yeah.
Don't give them ideas.
Oh, sorry. That's at the mega churches.
So that's the faith without works being dead part.
Yes.
You've got then the
Right.
flaming tongue. Yeah.
The right speech. So,
I don't like this part. This is hard for me.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, I love this part.
We'll keep going.
Okay, so in chapter 3, Paul talks about kind of controlling your tongue and that your words kind of steer your actions in your
Yeah.
body. And he uses a lot of metaphors, like one spark of flame, one spark of fire can set the whole forest on fire. Or ablaze.
Only you can prevent
Prevent
forest fires. Thank you, Smokey.
Maybe that's why it's the epistle of straw, because things are going up in flames.
That's right.
But like that how you talk affects how you live, and it affects how you relate to people, affects how you think about things. Another image that he uses is a ship and a sail, where the sail of a ship is what steers it, really the rudders, but apparently not a sailor.
Well, Jesus was always out walking ahead of the boat.
I know.
Wah, wah, wah.
He's a carpenter, not a fisherman. So, this idea that something small is what steers the body,
Yeah.
steers the whole. So, the tongue steers the body, and also like a bridle on a horse, that you shift that.
See, the only thing I don't, I struggle with this,
Mm-hmm.
not just because I'm snarky and sarcastic, which I am, but I guess, I have a,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard for me when I run across spiritual people
Oh,
who
yeah.
are just so, two-dimensional, and they feel fake to me.
Yes.
And I've had, a person bring up this text,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I never talk about, people, or I never, because of this text. I'm like, I get the spirit of that, but then it can begin to feel kind of self-righteous.
Well, and see, that's what I would, because he never talks about what the content of your speech really is.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And I would say that when you start speaking authentically and being open with people, you yourself become more open. Like, your heart becomes more open, I think.
I think that's true, and I guess I always feel like I do make fun of people, but normally
You should hear him.
but normally I'm the chief target.
The main person I'm making fun of is me.
So I
Yeah.
feel like if your heart
Mhm.
is in a light mode,
Yeah.
but I do know, but it uncareful speech can hurt people.
Very much so.
And it's true that if you cultivate, if you're frustrated with somebody,
Mm-hmm.
but then you try to think, well, what is it that I love about them, and what's good, then it can
Right.
turn your
It
whole heart
totally
towards
turns.
them.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's what he's getting
And I
at.
think that is what he's
Yeah.
getting at, and speaking in loving ways. And I don't think jokes and sarcasm are unloving.
Well, I like that. I agree with that.
Yeah, because I think when people are joking, you know it, and that displays another side of
Yeah.
them, which is, I think, a really positive side. But we're jokesters,
We are.
Yeah.
So
and I think we're like snark twins.
when you kind of bring it out in me.
I am a really bad influence on Ken. I'm really sorry, guys, if he's been really rude this year.
Ruder than usual. Well, that's
Okay.
excellent. Then you
And
are also
then
going to
prayer
talk
of
about
faith.
the healing and wholeness.
Oh, this is nice. This is like the power of prayer passage. It's hard to say 3 times fast.
Peter Pepper.
Peter, prayer, faith. So in this,
Aren't you going to
It's,
miss these?
let's get it together, Ken. We've been giggling this whole video. Okay, that whatever circumstances you are in, pray. If you're suffering, pray. If you're being persecuted, pray. If you're sick, pray. And that prayer is powerful. And I think it's a really nice way to end this book.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause that's, yeah.
A lot of Protestant churches have used this last chapter in James to bring back what are called healing and wholeness services.
Oh, yeah, those are nice.
And we kind of, at our place here, we do them sporadically, generally associated with, like, our Ash Wednesday, and, our Holy Day services, or
Care
sometimes
for animals.
more. Well, the blessing of animals was a lot of fun.
It was, and I think it meant a lot to people.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
We'll do it, earlier in the year, perhaps, so it's not dark by 5. That made it a challenge. But using the oil, which is what they talk about, using the oil for healing. I would want to be. I always want to be careful with a text like this. It's not that when you something oil is in some magical substance, that heals people. But it's this ancient practice of sealing somebody, and when somebody blesses you and touches you in a holy way, it does affect the heart and the mind.
It really does. The other thing that I would caution with this is I've also seen it used to where people don't go to the doctor.
Well, that's an issue here in Oregon
that's a huge,
quite recently.
Right.
And using oil and prayer instead
like
of
fake
medical
healing
help.
Instead of healing. And when I read this, I can see how it can be taken that way.
Sure.
But I also think they didn't have a lot of medicine.
Yep.
And that healing can mean a lot of different things in a lot of different ways.
That's right.
I'm sure you doing like your CPE, when working in a hospital, even when the person is dying, praying with them can bring some spiritual healing.
Exactly.
And so that's why I would not take. And it can do physical things too, like
sure, no doubt. But we would, we would encourage you to seek medical treatment and prayer.
And prayer.
Do both and, not
That's-
either or. I don't know why it's that hard.
There's some hospitals now which are doing a new thing where they are attending to both physical and spiritual health, like in a really real way.
You gotta know that's good.
That's so good, and the studies for recovery in those test cases have been amazing. So that's nice.
So that's James. Great book anymore.
I don't think it's strawy.
I don't either. Luther, it's just, isn't it fun to know that Luther argued that we should get rid of the book of James. It should not be in the New Testament.
He had a bee in his bonnet about a lot of things.
It's interesting that the canon was so flexible. He didn't ultimately.
He didn't
win. But if you ever feel like, dang it, I just hate that book. Well, there were some really smart people.
There's lots of
who felt like that.
I think you
too.
can find someone to hate a book pretty easily.
Yeah, and wish it wasn't there.
Yeah, he did cause the Council of Trent. One of the things that the Council of Trent did was to close the Catholic canon.
And Luther.
Yeah, but the Protestant canon is always open.
Yeah.
Because of this.
One day, Nicole, you could write a memo, a letter.
I don't think it means. It'd be very, very difficult to get something in the canon.
It would. Martin Luther King's letter from a Birmingham jail was the last argued document I'm aware of that people said, this really ought to be part of the canon, and that didn't make it. So
No.
Martin Luther King Jr. ain't making it. The chances are good for us.
Maybe not you.
All right, we'll
you guys
come
later.
back with 1 Peter. See?